about my story. I'm just so glad I got a chance to stop and do some stuff. But welcome, welcome, welcome to Keeping It Real with Dr. Lil. My name is Dr. Lily M. Coley, and I'm going to be the host today, as I have been in the past, to, in this case, talk about my story. For some of you who don't know, I wrote a book about 10 years ago. No, it was 20 years ago, y'all. 20 years ago, from last Christmas, I was debuted on national television. So now I am trying to go back and start talking about my story and how it can help with your story. How about that? Because you know we all can help each other. So I think the last time I was here, I talked about the fairy tale childhood. Now the first chapter dealt with experiencing shock. You know about experiencing shock, and we know about the circumstances that go along with that. But I wanted to make sure we're all on the same page. Here's the book. And remember, been talking about the series, and the whole purpose is for me to share my story so that you can be empowered from it and be encouraged to carry on your story, whatever that may be, and not let whatever it is, if it's negative, to get the best of you. That's the point. So my story is our story, and I'm basically just trying to share so that none of us will be in despair, because talking and conversing about certain things does help you help yourself. So we talked about the first chapter, which was experiencing shock in a childhood. Sometimes we got to deal with the issue at hand and come face to face with it. The second chapter dealt with the fairy tale childhood, being thankful and grateful that I was able to grow up in a great home. My father was in the military, and my mother was an educator, and she also was into politics. So I was very grateful in the city of Philadelphia. And then this next chapter is, the next chapter is about my mother. How about that, y'all? Look, this is the picture of my mom. Get you a good angle in there. And this chapter is dealing with the apple of my eye and heart, my mother. So I just want to talk a little bit about the importance of loving your mother, being a part of your mother's life. And when I say that, I mean that when you get older, you just don't go totally your own way. Try to stay connected with the people who raised you, the people that loved you. My mother is not here now due to the tragedy of my father taking her life, but she's always with me in spirit. She taught me some great things, me and my brothers and sisters, things I would never be able to replace. She left us, my father as well, a legacy. So I tell people don't have to send you a whole lot of money, leave you a whole lot of money, but if they leave you a legacy is priceless. And the biggest things my mother left me is about the rule of law. Believe it or not, she said the rule of law, because my mother loved the law. She loved being in politics and enforcing things and making him work and speak for the people. Can you imagine that? Actually having the law work for the people. So my mother had this thing in believing in the rule of law and telling us, as I said on some other videos, that you follow the rule of law even when everybody else is not, or they're trying to break it or do what they do. Nonetheless, my mother was very good in that regard. And you can see from her picture she was immaculate. But the one thing I loved about my mother, she didn't have just beauty, she had brains. So one of the things she taught us about good health, about being taking care of your body, drinking water. And she didn't eat meat every day. My father wanted meat every day, but she didn't eat meat every day. She talked about how your digestive system shouldn't have meat. We know that now, especially as you get older, that you can do things sparingly and not as much. So my mother was a very good teacher. She worked with the school board. She was on the board there. She also did after school stuff, not after school stuff, teachers aid stuff while we were in school at the elementary school. So she was an educator, somebody who believed in empowering the community, and she loved politics. And then the other thing she taught us is about service, about serving other people, how important it is to serve someone other than yourself and outside your family. She would have us go and clean other people's alleys and other communities, because we lived in a nice neighborhood, we did, and we went in other neighborhoods that were not so great, and she had us clean their alleys. And I thought she had lost her mind. I must have been about 7, and although I didn't mind doing it here and there, I felt like, why are we doing it? Why do we need to clean some else's stuff? And I remember she looked at me and said, what's the matter? And I said, why do we have to clean other people's alleys? Why do we need to do that? She says, we have to set an example for them. We got to give people hope. And she says, by us cleaning something they know that doesn't belong to us, gives them hope that maybe whatever they're going through, they can overcome it. So nonetheless, that was a very important pivotal moment in my life with my mom. And these lessons that she taught us caused her to be the apple of my heart and just the apple of my life. And I'm so grateful to have had an experience with my mother so that I could be able to share with you. And for those of you who may not have had such a great experience with your mother, or maybe your mother's not here, know that there's still a legacy within you. There's still something about you that's important. There's still something about you that you can give and help the community and share and empower them. Don't think because you don't have the same experience as somebody else does, or your mother's not here, that everything is lost. No, there's still something that's built inside of you. And what's built inside of you is what God gave you. And that legacy and that living and having a positive attitude to the best of your ability will carry you through. So I always tell people that my mother is still living. My mother is raising us from the cradle and the grave. And I'm so grateful and thankful for Lily C. Coley and how my mother did some wonderful things in the city of Philadelphia in trying to empower people and love people. She was very close with a lot of political people that she helped endorse and get in office. Before her death, she was going to run for office, which was one of the reasons why my father became so insecure with the circumstance and did the tragedy. Nonetheless, my mother set an example of what a woman looks like. She was beautiful, she had brains, and she had God. And one of the things she did was she used it to help not just her kids, but those around her. That's why people loved her, and that's why she was going to run for state representative. And eventually down the road, some people ask me about politics. Yep, it's probably in the road for me as well. Nonetheless, right now, I'm just doing the ministry stuff that I'm doing in the community, what God has given me for right now for this season, and then eventually it'll go to where it needs to be. But I just wanted to encourage you with this chapter. The apple of my eye and my heart is my mother. Now, my father, we'll talk about him next. The best thing since sliced bread, as far as I'm concerned. But nonetheless, my mother set a great example for me and my brothers and sisters to be the best we could be. And I loved how she used to sit us at the table, look into our eyes, and try to empower us, and then ask us about what's going on. What kind of problems y'all having with each other? Certain types of table types discussions that you just can't get anywhere, where she was right there. Now, sometimes my father was at the table. He didn't talk too much, but he was there. But nonetheless, you'll see here with my mom, she was a great woman of God, a great woman, a great educator, and a great leader. And I'm so thankful that I have been able to witness a lot of experiences of her doing some great things in the community outside her nuclear family, because she had 8 children in that house. Okay? So she didn't have time for nothing, but somehow she found time for other people. So I want to encourage you as I'm going through my stories, so to take you through this journey, that letting you know that even though a tragedy struck, life is still goes on, and life still can be worth living. I'm still here after all these years carrying out the legacy of my parents, and so thankful of the experiences I had, the things they taught me, how I can apply them and share them with you today. So y'all know I don't like to go on too long, but I wanted to empower you. I wanted to love on you. I wanted you to give you some hope, thinking that you're going to be thinking about this in your own life, parallel it to your own destiny, your own purpose, and your own plan. Be encouraged as I'll be back for the next, not nationwide, that's a ministry I'm a part of, the next thing regarding my story. Because my story is my story, and nobody can tell it like I can tell it. So be encouraged, my brothers and sisters, and know that you got your story too. And your story is just as important. And we want to hear about it. In fact, please come, send me some email. Go to our website, www.drlil.com, www.drlil.com, and leave us some information. We kind of booked up. We got a lot of people that have come to us for different circumstances and want to tell their story, and we're going to get to everybody, I promise you. We got the people talking about their legal stories and their personal stories. Be encouraged. We'll look to talk to you soon in the future. This is Dr. Lillian Coley signing out for Keeping It Real with Dr. Lil. See you next time, everybody.